Hello, fairy tale friends. It's me, Ryan, your second favorite host. A while back, Tara and I recorded an episode with Joe, Joel, and Jay over at the 16-Bit Gladiators podcast talking about Disney video games, and we wanted to share it with you here today. Now, the 16-Bit Gladiators podcast is a little more adult-themed than ours usually is. They sometimes use some unfortunate adult language. So I have gone back through and I have scrubbed most of it from this podcast, from this recording, and hopefully it'll be appropriate for kids. Now, you still may want to take them out of the room because I may have missed one here or there. I did my very best, but this will be a very quack-heavy episode, so just a little bit of a warning for you up top. We really enjoyed doing it. We loved it. If this is the kind of stuff you love, hearing about video games, the 16-Bit Gladiators is a great podcast to check out. But for now, enjoy our episode.
I'm Tara.
I'm Ryan.
We love Disney movies.
So we decided to watch them all, from Snow White
to Frozen 2 and beyond. Each episode will watch a different Walt Disney Animated Studios film and tell you all about it.
Did we like it? Does it hold up? Who's our favorite hero?
Or villain.
We'll give you history and fun facts about each movie.
And sometimes we'll invite our friends to watch along with us.
So put on your tiara
or your evil crown
and join us on our adventure.
This is Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
See, that's one of the many things you'll have to cut out from the clean version. This is going to be possible.
It's the Princess Diaries After Dark.
I've signed up for a lot of like Disney Facebook groups to get like memes and stuff. And there's two called Disney After Dark, and one of them is just like adult, not adult, but like just more mature jokes about Disney. Like there's one where it's like Nala and Simba post-coital, and she's like, wow, I can't wait to tell our dad what happened. He's like, what do you mean our dad? She's like, there's only two men in all the Pride Lands, and I'm definitely not Scar's kid. And he's
the
like,
alpha. Yeah, the alpha mates with all the women.
Oh, no.
Like that stuff. But then the other one is like I'm like on it for a while, and I'm like, maybe some more actual cool stuff will show up. And no, it's just like Anna and Elsa in lingerie, and like Snow White in a thong. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna get out of this group.
That's horrible. That's really gross. What's it called?
You want to make sure you never get on it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna add it to the block.
Got a red list there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The ellipses is to imply your shame, I guess. It's like Disney After Dark. ...
Means there's more to come.
Horrible.
What a segue. There you go. All right, it's the 16-Bit Gladiators right here on the Next Wave Radio Network. This is our video game themed podcast where we come together every week to talk about video games and nudie Disney characters if the spirit moves. I'm your host Joel. I'm here every week, and I am always joined by Jay Gunn. Hello, Jay.
Hello.
Gracing us with his presence again is Joe Cuccinani. Hello, Joe.
Hi.
And a little bit of foreshadowing there on this very special crossover episode with our, I don't want to call it a sister podcast. We're not related that way, but with another podcast.
It's our Kissing Cousins podcast.
It's our sister wife podcast.
There you go. You've heard the voice of Ryan guest hosting on this podcast before. What's the most recent one you were on?
The open world discussion one.
Oh, that's right. We did a whole episode where the theme was open world video games, but we mostly ended up taking a little peek behind the curtain of your job because you are a video game developer by trade, Ryan.
I am.
But for this episode, you were playing the part of podcast crossover co-host. And your co-host is your lovely wife, Tara. And they host together Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries, which you can subscribe to, as well as this podcast, where all fine podcasts are sold. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or go directly to 16bitgladiators.com for us. For Tara and Ryan, where can we subscribe to your show?
I think we maybe just our Podbean page, TR Princess Diaries .podbean.com. But if you find us on Instagram, TR Princess Diaries on Instagram, we'll have a link in our bio that'll take you to like one of those pages where it's just like, here's everywhere you can find us. So we should be anywhere, but one of those you'll be able to find us.
And we've got a Facebook group too that's
pretty active.
Yeah.
Very strong. Yeah, they got a very strong Facebook community.
Yeah, prolific. And a great podcast, too. I've spent all morning. I had a long work day, and it was one of those days where I could just have podcasts running in the background. So I've been catching up on your show, and man,
Nice.
Just forget about some of these Disney movies and the trivia you guys. Man, you really do your research. Like, you're putting this podcast to shame because
Thank you.
we just kind of show up and riff off of memory. And you've got notes and trivia. And,
my memory is
my
awful.
God.
That's why I have the notes.
Do we have your notes somewhere? She's
I've
gone
got
through like
several
3 or
I've
4
got, like, legal pads.
during the course of this podcast.
There's more.
Wow.
These are 2 of them.
This is just
but
like,
I have more.
look at this.
It's the
my
color
God.
pens
Oh my God.
It's
that
just
you can't use for anything else, like orange.
it's just a more delightful version of the 7 notebook.
I know, right? I was about to say, like, someday you guys are gonna like go missing, and they're gonna find these notebooks.
hieroglyphics on them and everything.
I don't know what's going on, but she wrote like 27 notes about Sleeping Beauty.
Many trees died to bring us this podcast. Well, thank you guys for making time and joining us on our humble little podcast. And the reason that they are on is because of this week's topic, which is Disney video games. That's right. You guys host a Disney-themed podcast. We host a video game-themed podcast. And just like peanut butter cups, we're 2 great tastes that taste great together because
Hey, you got chocolate in my peanut butter.
you got peanut butter in my chocolate.
No.
You got Disney in my video games. And that's exactly what happened. We've
You got video games in my Disney.
There's tons of video games that are based on Disney properties ever since the invention of the medium. And so we are here to talk about them. Now, before we dive into this, because this is going to be a jam-packed episode, I can tell already, we need to set a little bit of ground rules. We talked about it earlier.
The safe word is Jiminy.
Got it.
So yes, some ground rules because as we mentioned at the top of this episode, there are Star Wars video games, which is now technically a Disney property. There are Marvel video games, but we did that last week on our superhero episode. Listen to our superhero podcast episode. And no LucasArts games. I think we're going to throw that in there because we will have a Lucas. Oh, Joe, look at you, Joe.
No, I'm kidding.
Just we're going to do a LucasArts episode coming up soon, so we don't want to blow our load here on this Disney episode. But aside from that,
Everything that's just Disney, like
Yes.
the animated stuff, if they made video games based on like Song of the South, we could talk about that.
Oh my
I'd
God.
love to see that.
Oh boy.
The computer wore tennis shoes.
The Strongest Man in the World. Now we're talking some Kurt Russell Disney movies.
The Air Up There with Kevin Bacon. That's a Disney movie. Operation Dumbo Drop. That should be a video game if it isn't already.
It's just like Space Invaders, but you're shooting elephants.
Wow, put a dark spin on that film.
That's better. I was about to say it's like Tetris, but with elephants. Space Invaders is much better.
But yes, so aside from those 3 properties, everything is all game. And so let's kick things off. All right, Ryan and Tara, the way we usually do this, Ryan, we go around the horn. I think we've all got little lists here. That's right, Joe is working up a sweat there with the boxing gloves. And we'll just go down a list of Disney. I'm sure there's going to be some crossover, which is appropriate on this crossover episode. All right, well, since you are our guests, be our guest. And
Be our guest.
Let's start with Tara and or Ryan. I'm not sure if you guys have individual lists or if you're acting as a
We
duo.
do.
You do. Okay.
Oh no, we are not a duo.
We
have
do, but I
individuals.
only put 2 on mine because I figured we didn't want to like fill up this thing. So do you want to go first? Or you want...
Sure, I'll go first.
Great.
So Disney's been my jam for a long time. And that's a lot of the video game, like Super NES was the system I had. It was the first system I played on and the one that I still love to this day. And when
Do
Ryan
we want to
sent
tell the
that
story
video,
of your dad
yes,
taking
but when
away
you-
your Super Nintendo?
Yes, so I bought a Super Nintendo with like birthday money or something, and I think it was one of my parents was against it, and I'm not really sure why. So they made me return it, which was a super sad day. But then my best friend had a Super NES, so I was just over there playing it all the time. So it
Joke's
all
on
worked
them.
out. Exactly. And then I got a PlayStation later on, so it all worked out. But the first one for me that I wanted to talk about, especially because there's a lot of differences between the Sega version and the Super NES version, is Aladdin.
Yes.
Aladdin.
Yeah. So Aladdin, I was looking into it, but the Sega version was Virgin Games, and then the Super NES version was Capcom, and they came out within the same month of each other, which I found kind of interesting. and they were animations from actual Disney animators. So
just on the Sega one.
on the Sega one, is
Yes.
that what? Yeah. So I found that I thought that was really cool, and it went on to be the 3rd best-selling game in Genesis history.
Wow.
Wow.
So it was.
Did you play both of them though?
So I, as a child, only played the Super NES version, but now Switch has Lion King and Aladdin, and that's the Sega version. I prefer the Super NES version. I don't know.
Yes,
if that's-
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
all right. I
ma'am.
was like, I don't know if that's a hot take. Like, personally, that's my version.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and there's other levels in it that don't exist. I was comparing the levels, and like, there's no a whole new world.
The
There's-
magic carpet interlude.
best
It's
part.
one of the best parts.
Exactly. You get all the gems, you get all the thing. That doesn't exist in the Sega version, and the battle at the end with Jafar is so different. In the Sega version, you have to have a ton of apples. So if you don't hoard apples up to that, I know. Well, the first one
Ryan's
it's
shocked.
really
I mean,
exciting.
in all fairness, that's the name of the cutout
When
song from
in
Aladdin.
Rome.
Ton of
Yeah,
apples.
it's a ton of apples.
Look out.
Ton of apples. Gotta beat Jafar with the ton of apples.
But yeah, in the Sega version, you're just throwing a ton of apples at him. He changes into a snake. But in the Super NES version, you play him once as Jafar, and you jump on him, and there's other obstacles, and then it's a separate level to play him as the snake. So I believe it's divided up. And when we were kids, there were passwords. So what's nice about the Switch version is that you can automatically save whenever. But if you played the original, the OG version, you had to have the passwords. And Ryan bought a retro duo for me for my birthday a couple years back. And got me Aladdin. And one of my best friends, we like called him up to say, oh my gosh, we can't believe Ryan got this. We're playing the game. He goes, Genie, Jafar, Aladdin, Abu. He's like, that's a password for the Genie level.
Like he knew it off.
He knew it immediately off the top of his head. So yeah, so for me, that's one I played all the time. I had so much fun revisiting it, but I was super bummed that it was the Sega version.
I have a question about the whole new world level. Like, could you die on the whole new world level?
No.
I don't think so.
It was just kind of
No,
like a
it was
bonus
just
thing.
Yeah, kind of a bonus level.
Because I'm like, that
bonus
seems
level.
It was
really
a nice
messed up.
break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
It was a nice
break.
break in the action. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Genie level I like much better in the Super NES version as well.
Yeah. That is to some audiences a controversial take, but not
Yes,
here on
yeah.
this podcast. I think we're all
Okay,
agreeing
good.
Super Nintendo's better. But
Yeah, because we're the correct audience.
That's interesting
among
because
friends.
when
I
I
like
was
that.
looking stuff up, a lot of people were saying the Genesis one.
Yeah.
Like that was the consensus online.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
I
but-
okay.
well, they're all for reasons.
I'm not representing them.
They're all for reasons that don't have to do with the gameplay. I think they're all
Yeah.
like, oh, the animations are better, the sprites
Yeah.
are bigger. It's like the color count and the sound.
Well, like she said, the animations were like supervised by actual Disney animators,
Yes.
which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, Capcom.
I mean,
no
but
slouches
to
themselves.
that point, so was Brother Bear, and nobody wants to watch that movie. So,
Listen, we have a guest for Brother Bear, and I'm very excited. She's an actual animator.
oh
So-
no,
Oh,
Joel,
really?
you have to cut that out.
Carly,
Cut
don't
that
listen to him.
cut that out.
Is that an upcoming episode? Of
We'll
Terran
get
Ryan?
there
Eventually,
eventually.
yeah.
We're going through all of them.
Yep.
Oh, that's true. Well, but you're not even. Let's see. What was that? Like late '90s? Sorry, it's a tangent.
That one's
Joel-
in the 2000s, I believe.
Joel's
Yeah.
like, is there even a princess in that movie?
You know what? They will find a princess in all the movies. There's always a
will.
princess, whether or not she's female or wearing a dress.
Aladdin was the princess in Aladdin, according
Sure
to
was.
us.
That's
Yeah,
right.
no, he
Of
was.
course.
He was.
Yeah.
That's good.
I found out today that Jack Skellington was the princess from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Ooh, is that where you are on in the podcast?
I mean, I'm not really going in order. I find the movies that I have like. I listened to your Rescuers Down Under episode, which I have a great affinity for. Love that film. I think it's totally underrated. Not enough people know about it. I tried to show it to my wife, and she fell asleep 5 minutes in. So maybe it's
Yeah,
just me.
that's
But
about right.
but if no, that is a great film.
She didn't get to Joanna.
Oh gosh,
Joanna
I'm
the
obsessed
Goanna?
with Joanna. She's
Joanna's the
so
best.
great.
Yeah.
That scene with the eggs is one of my favorite. Like,
I just watch
just
that on YouTube sometimes
scenes.
just to make me feel good and laugh. I love that scene so much.
Nice. All right. Well, this is a great way to kick things off. Coming out strong, Tara, with Aladdin for both SNES
you.
and the Genesis. Well, I guess we have no choice then than to move on to your spouse there, Ryan.
No choice. We have no choice.
We have no choice.
I mean, in all honesty, there's 3 other choices, but yeah.
Nope,
we-
absolutely.
Or you could just like cut me off. It doesn't matter. Like, just
All right,
use the law.
Joe, you're up next. What?
No, Brian, go ahead.
So I went with both the original and the remake of the Ducktales. I have not played the remake, but I looked into it a little bit.
It's good.
I played the heck out of the original. I was just kind of interested because I was thinking about playing it before doing this, but then I was like, I've spent too much money on games and stuff lately, so I was like, okay, we'll hold off. But I thought it was interesting. Like, I just watched a bunch of comparison videos. So you guys remember the original? Like, you're bouncing around as Scrooge on a cane. Mm-hmm. You're going to, let's see, such famous locales that you remember from the show, like African Mine and Transylvania, the moon. And I thought it was interesting because, like, this was a big thing around, like, Mega Man and stuff like that, whereas, like, you could go to any level you wanted in any order you wanted. Mm-hmm. But it always was this kind of weird thing because I was watching a playthrough and then I forgot at the end, whatever boss you beat at the end, then it just cut to Glomgold and Magica Dispel being like, we're gonna get to your treasure first, and you literally just climb a rope up like 3 screens.
Yep.
I wouldn't call that a race, although in my memory, I'm pretty sure I lost the game at that point. Like, I don't know how, but
you just had to go up.
I think I must have been so nervous as a little kid. Like, what am I doing wrong? This seems too easy. Jump, die.
I feel like that was me when I was trying to get out of the vault in Fallout 3. When I
Well, in your defense, you were also trying to master a whole
I had never played anything on an Xbox. Yeah, that was my first thing on an Xbox, and I was like, I can't get out of the vault. This is so depressing.
Nintendo games, and I was like, just climb up this rope. This is it. Dead. Oh. But the thing I thought was interesting about the remaster is they got it's pretty close, but they add some new stuff and they put a little context into things.
Bro, the voice acting too.
They brought back the old voice actors. Alan Young, the original Scrooge, was there. All of them. June Foray, who was Rocky the Squirrel, was a bunch of voices. They got everyone who was living at the time. I think Alan Young and some other people have passed since then.
Yeah.
But I wanted to throw out a little bit of trivia because I want to. Anytime I can, I like to try and plug the 2017 Ducktales show, which is really good.
That's what I've heard.
The one with
David Tennant.
Yeah. Yes, as Scrooge and all those characters. But there's a character that they created for the show that is Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mom. And Donald's taking care of them because their mom, quote unquote, passed in a
drug problem.
This is a drug problem. She's on the mean streets of Balmer. And she is she is on the moon. They think she has disappeared, but she's on the moon. And in the second season, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling a little bit. You find out what she's been doing on the moon. And there's a part where she's fighting a moon monster and she finds out it's a baby. So she goes to sing it a lullaby. She's like, this is a lullaby I used to sing to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And it's the moon theme from the DuckTales video game with words they've added to it.
One of the greatest video game music tracks. We've done a couple of episodes on video game music here. And I can't remember which one it was on, the first or second, but either volume 1 or volume 2. But
I think it was volume 2.
Yeah, that's a great track.
That's the cool thing about that show is it's really rewarding to people who loved this Disney afternoon stuff. So check that out on Disney Plus if you get a chance. But the game I remember playing the heck out of, just to throw in another one, I don't know if anyone's going to talk about Mickey Mouse capades, but I remember having that and DuckTales, and one of them being far superior to the other one.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
DuckTales,
Mickey Mouse capades.
Same thing with Aladdin. It's amazing. Some of these games are very solid platformers considering they just farmed these games out to people. There's a lot of, we'll get to some other stuff in a second. People who a lot of companies now who their first game was one of these platformer Super Nintendo or Nintendo Disney game. But anyway, I grew up, I loved DuckTales, and I kind of I probably will be checking out this new one soon.
I while it's great to have it on in widescreen with better graphics and on a modern console that you don't have to break any laws to play. I will, and I love the idea of getting the cast back together and having one go around. But I think it's a victim of a copywriter who was so in love with his material that he didn't know how to edit, because some of those cutscenes, they are interminable. Like there's characters who are just talking. Oh yeah, am I the only one who's played this remake?
No, I've got the remake. I think the remake's fine.
You didn't,
but you can get the originals. There's a package in the Xbox Market called the Disney Afternoon Collection.
That's right.
And I think it's got it. It might have both DuckTales, maybe just the first one, but it also has like Tailspin and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. So yeah.
So I haven't played the Tailspin one. Is that one just like R-Type? That's what it looked like in the trailer.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
It's not like
just
weird gutsy aliens, yeah. But it's like it's like left to right.
I'll tell you, man, the work that Capcom put into those Disney IPs for those games, they did a good job. Like all of those games are fun. None of them touch DuckTales though. Like that one was on my list as well. But they're all good games. They're pretty solid.
It's that bouncing mechanic. It's the that Shovel Knight would then take.
Shovel Knight, yep.
Not just the bouncing mechanic though. Like there's just some strong gameplay going on there. Like some good. You know, we've talked about it on the podcast before, where a game kind of prepares you for what's going to happen later. This game does a really good job with that.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, like Darkwing Duck was one that just felt like a Mega Man reskin, and this one had different stuff. Like the jumping thing was kind of new, where you could jump on the spikes and stuff like that,
and hitting stuff like a golf club.
Yeah. And that was all stuff that like the golf club thing. I'm pretty sure Scrooge did on the show. I don't know about the bouncing on the cane, but I'm sure he did, and that was stuff that was like new, cool gameplay, but also true to what was going on. They have a lot of like references to stuff from the like. Don't you fight like the Terror Firmer? King in one of them. Yeah. There's stuff that's like pretty deep cuts from the show, but like, you know, still solid things. But you are also going to fight like Dracula Duck in Transylvania and stuff, where they were just like, let's just put Dracula in there. Yeah.
It turned him into a
giant rat on the moon. Yeah.
I love how they duckify everything on that.
Sure. Or Beagle fight.
Yes. Duckify and Beagle fight.
One or the other. Yeah.
All right. Way to kick things off. Let's see. Well, Jay, you in my order on my screen are next. So I think I'm going to throw it to you. Let's talk about some Disney games, buddy.
All right. Well, I was kind of going over this list of all the Disney games, and it's like I'm looking, I'm going, I don't know that one. I don't know that one. I don't know that one. I am really surprised at how few Disney games I've ever actually played.
What?
Yeah, and because I've always been a huge Disney fan, but I've just never done the games too much.
Bro, there's one we played a bunch when I lived in your house.
There was what I'm saying. Other than like the big ones like DuckTales, I did Aladdin, I did The Lion King, things like that. I did all the major ones.
You're missing one. You're missing one, and it hurts because we played it like religiously.
This is like y'all sitting on his lap moment.
My heart heart is breaking because you're about to go like N64 or like PlayStation era, and like go ahead, do your game. Do your game. It's killing me.
We'll come to you next, Joe.
Oh,
can't wait to hear it.
I'm trying to remember what it was now.
It was like, I talked about it at your wedding.
It was in my speech.
We made love after playing this.
Oh man, but no, the one that came up on the list, I was like, oh, I do remember that one because I'd actually just played it somewhat recently on the Wii. Was Epic Mickey?
Yes, that's on my list as well.
Yeah, I was really surprised by it because I don't know. I guess I always had like this prejudice against licensed things like that, like where
as you should
games that are done off of movies or TV shows or things like that have never really been great. You know, you got the diamonds in the rough every now and then, but for the most part,
I'm enjoying all these Disney references, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, they've never been great. But I got this one, and it's like it wasn't really tied into any of the films. It was just its own thing, and I loved that they kind of took the Super Mario Sunshine, and essentially Disneyfied it with their own little mechanic of painting things versus cleaning up the painting things. And oh my god, it was incredible to play something like that was just, I mean, yeah, you could die, you could mess up and stuff like that, but for the most part it was just fun to play. Like there was there wasn't any real like hard things to do. It was a good kind of a relaxing game.
Well, and this will probably be a theme, but when you're making a video game based on a Disney property, you got to know who your audience is, and not that it's exclusively children, but they don't want to exclude the children. So they got to make it for the children.
When did that one come out?
It's like early 2000s, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was like 2000. Or no, it was on Wii, so it had to have been maybe 2008.
Yeah, because I vaguely remember like the advertisements and things for it. I don't think I ever played it.
I think it was around then because I think I knew a lot of people. I graduated from SMU Guildhall in 2007, and I think that studio picked up a lot of people in my cohort, and they went and worked on it. And spoiler alert, it didn't do great. Like, they got a sequel out of it, but it didn't do great either. I haven't played it. I think the reason I didn't is because I didn't play a lot of Wii games. Like, I found the controller setup just a hindrance. I know now it's on Steam, and I know you got really interested when you heard it was kind of like Mario Sunshine. You're like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
But
my ears perked. But I remember as soon as he started talking about the painting, I was like, oh, I remember seeing stuff for that. But I never had a chance. I never had the opportunity to play it.
I got to hear Warren Spector talk a little bit right before it came out. I have dumped all of that information. It was at a like some conference I was at, and he was really seemed like a cool guy, or at least he seemed very like into that property, because it's all like the forgotten Disney stuff. It's like Oswald the Rabbit and like all the old like 1930s and before cartoons, correct? And that's the best part about it, is that they're using the old 1940s Mickey. Like where he doesn't have he's all pupils, right? There's no whites of his eyes. And he's also not so much of a corporate logo at that point. We talk about that a lot on podcasts, is like how he kind of now he doesn't really have a personality because he has to be like everything to everyone. He's G.I. Joe. Yes, that's right. But like specifically the G.I. Joe character, not the line. It's the one guy who's just G.I. Joe. No. I'm thinking of He-Man. He's He-Man. He's He-Man. That's what I meant. Because He-Man is like a generic. Like, do you know the story of the He-Man toy?
Yeah, they were supposed to be Star Wars. They were supposed to be Star Wars action figures.
Yeah, exactly. But then
everybody knows that story.
He's just like a blank slate, basically. That
everybody.
It's a blank slate.
Anyway,
beating up on He-Man.
I love. Oh, hey Joe, you seen the new He-Man show?
The whole thing.
Did you? Oh, they released it all at once.
Watch that.
Yeah, the whole first part. It's in 2 parts. It's going to be 5 episodes for part 1 and 5 episodes for part 2, and it's outstanding. It's really well done.
It's really good. I watched it too.
Nice. There you go. There's your little mini review of a non-Disney property.
If you're a purist for He-Man, you might not like it, but I also say that if you're a purist for something that was like designed by committee specifically to gain dollars off of like other toy sales, then like rethink your decisions that led you to this point.
Yes.
Like it's like, I'm sorry, but I
also there's like 200 plus episodes of what you like and what you're into. There's a live action movie. There's like comic books. Go find some of that. You know, this one is actually, it's actually evolving and pushing this story forward, these characters forward, and like they're getting about it. And it's like, well, bro, what do you just want the same old just with Mark Hamill as Skeletor?
Yes.
Come on.
Basically,
As someone
that's exactly what
as a video game developer, no one hates your product more than its biggest fans.
Man,
truer words were not spoken.
Yeah, exactly.
Sad. All right. Well, on that note, Joe, I think I'm going to throw it over to you, buddy. I know you're itching to get in some Disney games. Let's talk.
Well, okay. So before I get into it,
this game is that you and Jay.
I'll tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about it. But first, like I've been working with my daughter, like getting her into video gaming and stuff.
Oh, I know.
And for Christmas, I brought some visual aids. So for Christmas this past year, she got this Little Mermaid Tiger Electronics.
I'm so happy you were bringing these up, because I was curious if any of you guys had played them, because there were so many of them.
Oh yeah, and they're all horrible. But it's nice. It's nice for her to kind of get her feet wet, like playing this game. Also, we went to Old Movie Trading Company, and I picked up something, and she saw something in one of the glass cases. I've been letting her try out some games on the old Game Boy, and she saw this Winnie the Pooh Adventures in the 100-Acre Wood that she has become a huge Pooh head. Like
sounds much grosser than it actually is.
No, that's it. I grew up loving Winnie the Pooh, and I've since been able to kind of transfer some of that over to her. and she saw this and wanted to play it. And it's kind of like, and I think this is true for a lot of Winnie the Pooh video games, especially like on the Game Boy format, is that they're kind of like board games that you just play on this video game system. And she's digging the out of it. It's nice. It's nice seeing her kind of learn, like go from being the little girl that like she needs me to explain everything to her getting the gist of it and doing it herself. So that's really rewarding.
Yeah. Proud papa.
So now that we got the feel good out of the way, Jay.
Yes, let's hear it.
Yeah.
The Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse on SNES. We used to play the holy crap out of that.
Hanging his head in shame
Head
for
in
the
his
listeners.
hands.
You're right.
No. Yeah,
You're right.
it was a Capcom game. It was gorgeous.
Yes.
Is that
and
the
like
one
it
where you
had
have
this
the curtain and you
the
like,
curtain, and
change
you
clothes?
changed costumes. You could be
Yep.
Fireman Mickey, or you could be Mountain Climber Mickey, and like you fought different versions of Pete at the end of every level, and it was all like to save Pluto. It was like Pluto got lost, and it was all about saving your dog.
Yep.
I was just
Yeah.
about to say, is it a precursor to John Wick?
It is, and it's amazing. I can't believe you forgot about that.
I
man.
can't either. I can't either.
They ended up making a sequel, I think, with Mickey and Minnie, but like that first one is just legendary.
Oh, wow. I hope
I
you
remember that
I hope
one.
you're happy with yourself, Jay.
I am forever shamed for having
What?
forgotten that.
Not only should you be shamed, but like just know I'm because I had to use up my first pick to talk about that game instead of what was actually on my list.
We'll save it, Joe, because we'll come back around. I think we've gone through everybody. I'm going to throw one out there since we were talking about Aladdin earlier on the SNES. Also a game by Capcom, right? And they were the ones who did all the NES versions, the Saturday morning cartoons, and were firing on all cylinders. Didn't have a miss until a little movie called Lion King came out, and they decided to make a Super Nintendo version of that, and it looks beautiful. It's got the soundtrack. It's got all the things going for it. It's Lion King, which was at the time like the biggest grossing Disney movie, right?
Tara.
And yet that game is a pain in the to play. It is so.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but it's sorry to cut you off. Ryan was just like surprised. He thought my feelings were going to be hurt. But yeah,
no, I thought
there
you were
are
gonna
moments-
the jersey was gonna come out.
I was gonna go on the table. No, it is such a pain.
Something about platformers that work on 2 feet, when you're a character with just legs, and something about laying that character down, having him walk on all fours, and now the sprite's a little bigger. It's a little hard to figure out where the edge of cliffs are, and that became a detriment playing that game, especially in the can't wait to be king level with the monkeys and the giraffe heads. Oh my god, I fell off those giraffes.
When we're actually watching the movie for the podcast, this monkey reaches down and like throws Simba, and Tara goes, "Oh, those blue monkeys."
Yeah, see, she's got PTSD from the monkeys.
Seriously. And when you mention the cliffs, I feel like there are moments where you have to jump from like one to the other and zigzag, and there's no like rhyme or reason. You either you either clip onto it or you don't.
Yes,
that's the thing. Yes. You got to be pixel perfect, and if you knew what the rules were, it'd be easier. But it's trial and error. Made for a very frustrating experience. Looked great, but for me, that was Capcom's first big miss with their Disney property games.
Yeah, it's one of the games that defines that Nintendo hard meme. So yeah,
I thought you were gonna bring up. I don't know how many years later, but they literally just started going through all the properties, and one of them was Pinocchio, and I have not played it. I just saw when I was going through the list, it's always like Pinocchio, and it looks just like it's like Pinocchio going to school and jumping up on stuff like Aladdin. Have you played it, Joe?
Has it. My daughter has it for the Game Boy, and it frustrates that a lot of her.
Are you fighting the horrific donkey people? Is that
we haven't even gotten to that point.
Yeah,
we haven't even gotten.
Well,
there.
there's so many villains in that. There's so many mean, cruel people.
That's true.
In Pinocchio.
Yeah, the whole world.
Yeah,
that's what I learned from watching that movie. It's like don't leave home.
don't trust anybody.
Not in Italy.
Never
don't trust any Italians.
That's right. Pinocchio and the Godfather. They're basically the same movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to jump in real quick with something because I watched a video today that was It was a John Tron video, if you know that guy. But he did one on Disney bootlegs, and we're probably gonna cut this part out for our part of it. But there was one that was The Lion King, and it was essentially just a remake of The Lion King, except when you died, you know how you get that like continue or don't continue screen.
Yeah, with Rafiki.
Oh no! Now it's Simba hangs himself.
Oh my god.
So I will send you guys this video. It's like, and then you could be Timon, Pumbaa, or Simba. If you're Pumbaa, you jump in like a boiling pot of water.
Oh no!
If you're Timon, you like dig your own grave and jump in. And if you're Simba, flat out Brooks is here yourself, and you just like go up. It's like continue, and he's like, and I'm like, and
What
I know, it was some weird bootleg. This is also the one where they had a Lion King bootleg that was a copy of the Jungle Book game, except it was Mowgli with a lion head. It was amazing. It was so good. Anyway.
Oh my god, my head is. I'm trying to figure out how one hangs himself with no opposable thumbs.
Oh, you'll see when I send you this video.
All right, can't wait. Post it on the Facebook page. All right, Ryan, is that your next pick then? No, well,
so mine was I picked one that I know we've been doing a lot of the cartoons and stuff, but this is one that I remember playing. I played this before I actually saw start to finish the movie it was based on, and because I watched the movie in college. This is Tron 2.0.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Okay, we have talked about it before.
Well, we haven't talked about 2.0, but we've talked about Tron.
Yeah.
Tron 2.0 is the first-person shooter game that they made, like based off of it was supposed to be a sequel to Tron.
Yeah.
And it stars the character Alan Bradley's son, Jethro Jet Bradley.
Oh my
who,
gosh.
when he's in the real world, looks like a skinny version of the lead singer of Smash Mouth. He's like literally got. Do you guys remember those shirts from the early, like the really like the silk shirts that had like. Joe, you probably remember this. Like, there's like Stone Cold Steve Austin screen printed on it.
Sure,
and stuff like that. So he has like one of those shirts and like just like a goatee and a soul patch. And then when he goes into the world, he looks really much cooler. But it had this really cool system. Like I liked it as a first person shooter because you actually had the disc. You could throw the disc and it would bounce around and hit people and you'd catch it. And you could also use it to block shots and things like that, and you could upgrade all this stuff. And the thing I thought was really cool is you get all these weapons, you'd upgrade them, and you had like a wheel where you would drag your upgrades on, and like if they were like first level, they were very large, so you couldn't put like a ton of them on this wheel. But as you got better and better and like upgraded them, they get smaller, so you could like create this loadout of everything with all these different things. There are all these like just really dumb computer jokes, like every weapon was called something.exe or something that. Listen, I remember when I saw Tron, which was shortly thereafter in college, it was me and another engineering major watching it, and we're just like, this movie's great. I understand why people don't like it.
Yes.
I'm like, I love all these stupid little jokes, but I completely get why people were like, this is dumb.
Listen to our Tron episode on the editing bay.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I remember really loving that game. Going back and looking at it, I'm sure it doesn't hold up, but there's apparently a mod you can get where people have been still working on it all this time, where it'll upgrade it to 4K, and do all that stuff called the Killer App mod.
Nice.
So like a lot of people are still working on that stuff. I remember loving it. I do not remember. I think the light cycle sequences were bad because I don't remember the light cycle sequences.
Yeah.
No, I mean in the game.
They were rough.
In the game.
They were rough.
I'm disappointed because like that's what you want to play a Tron game for.
Like,
right.
What you want.
Well, I think, speaking as a game designer, especially back then, like that's like it's easy to shift to something that's similar to like it's like that's going from a first person game to a racer game, and like that takes that like the team that has to do that, like you have to do that like with all the tools you have to create a first person game. You have to hire new people who know what they're doing, or just shift people over who are like, well, normally I work on shooting guys in Wolfenstein, but today I'm doing a racing game. So it's like those expertise don't always transfer over.
Yeah.
It's not just like I'm good at all video games in general. Like this is my defending those guys. It's also the guys who did it was Monolith Studios, so it was the guys who did when I was on here for the open world game we talked about Shadow of War.
Yeah.
So it's those guys. And I also want to bring up something going back to Lion King real fast. That's Westwood Studios did that. So
Lion King
that's Command and Conquer.
Command and Conquer,
Command and
Wow.
Conquer, yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Fair
That
enough.
makes sense with
yeah, I
all that
didn't know that.
complicated platforming and command.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Back when games were just like, we're just trying to get pixels on screen.
Yeah, I know.
After I just said like it's hard to translate different stuff.
Well, actually, I would say that's Exhibit A.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, the Tron 2.0 was pretty good. It came out around the same time. I think that was an Xbox title, and then at the same time they had released a Game Boy. I think it was Game Boy Advance game called Tron Killer App, and it was supposed to be kind of like a companion game to what was going on in 2.0. They're not bad. They're ugly. I mean, they're both completely ugly to look at now. But at the time, like especially being a Tron fan, it was cool getting like finally like a continuation of the story, as bad as it was.
I thought it looked like, here's the thing, yeah, when you look at like the character models and stuff, but I thought they did a really good job with like the, not necessarily level design, but like the level art. But you're also working with Tron, which is very like geometric shapes. It's a lot easier to kind of pull some of that stuff off. But yeah, anytime like someone talked, it did look like it was
Did it look like the Titanic game?
No.
Oh God.
I could tell. We should. If you guys ever want to do an episode on what's that thing called, Titanic.
Oh my gosh, I was
Adventures
obsessed
in
with
Time.
It. Yes, I loved it, and I played it on Steam not that long ago.
Oh my God.
It's one where you go back in time to Titanic and you try and
Why?
Try and save it.
because you're trying
Why
to
would you
save
Trying
it.
to save it
And
so
the-
it doesn't sink.
Oh,
and
not
then it
only that,
changes
if
history
you do the best ending, you save it from sinking. Hitler never comes to power.
like,
Wow.
everything
All this stuff
changes.
happens.
It's like Quentin Tarantino's Titanic.
Well, that's what was happening. He was like, "Oh, the Titanic, it sinks. I will invade Poland." Like that was what.
Yeah, don't
that
think
is
those
the
two were
direct
connected.
line from those two
Wow.
things.
However, if you don't succeed, when the ship sinks, you watch people floating outside the portholes. It is
horrific
the most horrific
ending I've ever
ending.
seen of anything. I walked in
you
like,
don't
"What
make
are
it."
you playing?"
It was,
That's dark.
yeah, it's pretty dark.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You
All
try-
right.
Tara. Anytime Tara gets a chance to talk about that game, she will.
I will, yes. I
Strangest game I've
love
ever
it.
seen.
I
but-
love it. It's so weird and so terrible and great.
Well,
I just like, of all the things, if I were to get a time machine, like let me tell you the top like 5 things I would never
wait.
do.
yeah.
So,
You
so
stay
the
far
game
away.
starts and you were supposed to do all this stuff. You were on the Titanic and it sank, and you're like, "Yeah, if I could go back to that one day." And it's like World War One, and then a bomb hits, and you just wake up back in that time. It's not
You
like
wake up
You
back.
don't
So
get
you're
to
already dead.
choose.
So you're already dead.
there's something. This is all
Yeah.
just a Jacob's Ladder fever
There you
dream.
go.
Who knows?
It's a Jacob's Ladder scenario.
It's not like Doc Brown set the DeLorean to the year of the Titanic.
Marty.
Yeah. We've got to save the Titanic.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be foolish too, because it's a car. Oh wait, it
But
flies.
he
It
Joe,
flies in the
where he's
second one.
going, he doesn't need roads.
Who doesn't need?
That's right.
All right, Ryan, good pick there with Tron. Let's hear from your better half now and go to
I'm
Tara.
going to go over to PlayStation. So I mentioned how eventually I got a PlayStation, and one of the games that I really enjoyed on it was Hercules. I don't know if you guys ever played that or know about that.
Love the movie.
It's
Yeah,
one
it
of PlayStation's
apparently-
greatest hits.
Yeah, and it
Really?
apparently is now on Steam, so I'm really excited because I'm going to buy it on Steam and replay it. But yeah, what I loved about it was, I mean, it follows the movie beat for beat, but same with Aladdin and A Lion King. So for me, as like a huge Disney fan and loving the movies, I really enjoyed that a lot. Your health is Herculade, so that's like super fun. Every time you get a health, it's Herculade.
Nice.
And you battle all of the monsters. So it's kind of fun as you go through it. But the Hydra, I don't think I ever actually beat it because the Hydra was like pretty hard to beat. I think I got just past Hydra, and you battle Medusa, you eventually battle the Titans, and then you end like with Hades. When I was doing, I don't think I ever made it to Hades, but I was doing a watch through today. But one of the ones that I remember specifically, and it brought it back when we watched the movie for our podcast, was the training. There's like a whole training level where you're running. It's similar to like the Stampede level in Lion King, where like you're just running and you're trying to avoid stuff, but you're trying to save that rag doll, that damsel that he practices with to save. So the whole time you're like jumping through hoops and like trying to avoid things falling on you. But I had a lot of fun gameplay. I really enjoyed it a lot when it came out, and there were a lot of like interesting details that I found fun about it.
I'm into that because I love that movie. I kind of feel like it gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
For some reason. You know why? Because I think it was on the heels of Pocahontas.
It was on the heels of Pocahontas and Hunchback. And so they were trying to do the going back to a lighthearted film. We just recorded it, so I've got that like in my brain. But
is it overlooked? Because I've always felt like that one was the one that's highest regarded of those three.
Oh yes, of those three, but I don't think it matched Lion King numbers.
I don't think anything.
Yeah, I don't think it made that much money.
Yeah,
but it was definitely a response to like Pocahontas and Hunchback being more like
to people not
serious.
Yeah,
where cartoon characters are singing about their loins burning for a woman.
Yeah.
That's a little weird.
And
Tara apparently used to sing that song around the house as a child, and she's like, thinking back, it may not have been completely
the best
You
song.
talking about Hellfire from Hunchback
That
of
would
Notre
be
Dame?
the one. Yeah,
Oh,
love that song as a child. I was a villains.
It's a great.
Villains girl.
That's a great score. Some great songs in there. That's Alan Menken
Some
again,
good
right?
voice talent.
Yes, it is.
Great
yeah.
voice talent in that movie too, but it was still a little rough.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's for adults.
Well, yeah, Hercules was essentially the response of, fans being like, go back to what you know. Like, essentially, not really enjoying them exploring darker themes.
Yeah.
And more serious themes.
Can we go around the horn real quick and you guys tell us who your favorite Disney villains are? And you can't say Jeffrey Katzenberg.
I mean, I listen to your podcast, so I know what the correct answer is, Ryan.
You know who number one is at the moment.
And it's Gaston, of course. He's fantastic. But I got to say, Ursula. Ursula's up there too, man, from Little Mermaid.
Ursula's definitely up there, yeah.
She's so fun to hate. Anybody else?
Joe.
Oh, you want it? Okay.
Yeah,
I want to hear everybo's.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Cartoons are for kids.
I feel like exactly. I think this is hogwash. This question. No, I feel like there's no greater villain in Disney movies than our heroes. Like they're always the ones that
look at you.
They always bring the worst upon themselves. Like Ariel's an idiot. Like she's an idiot, and she like none of this would have happened. None of this stuff would have happened to her if she would have just like chilled out a little bit. She's what doesn't she say in the movie? She's like, I'm 14 years old. I can make my like, yo, chill out for just a second. Before you go make a contract with like Ursula the Sea Witch. That's her name, by the way, is Ursula the
That's
Sea
right.
Witch.
Yeah. You can't claim false advertising.
It's pretty much printed like on the cave that she lives in. She has two evil
she lives in a
heels.
giant like skeleton of some sea monster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the little urchin guys are already there. Like Ariel swims past them on her way to see Ursula. So, I mean, to answer your question honestly, my favorite villain is Gaston. I think Gaston is. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a wonderful villain. I think he's so fun. He's like the Hans Gruber of Disney villains. He's just
wow. He dies the same way.
You
know
love
what?
to hate him. Yes.
He catches me more like Carl, just at the end when he's running through the castle trying to get. I mean, just like visually because he's got like long
he gets
hair.
so crazy.
You know when he
end.
like comes out at the end, he's got the gun and he's like, he throws the thing off.
That
Like,
would be a killer edit of the movie where the Beast is just punching him and he's like, "I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna cook you, and I'm gonna eat you." But like, no, I think it's Gaston. But for the most part, I feel like there's no greater villain to a Disney heroine than herself.
Than yourself.
Or a hero, like Aladdin. Just like that just lies. Like he just he sits on a throne of lies for this whole movie, and we're supposed to sympathize for him. No, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Jay.
Yeah. Let's hear Jay.
I guess I'd have to go with I think Hades.
Hey,
probably one of my favorites.
Hades is good.
Yeah.
And James Woods has turned into a real life
love
villain in later years.
Yes.
Turns out.
Yes, he has.
We
Yes,
mentioned
he
that
We
as well.
have when we do our villain rankings, we have a topic that is go away heat, and he gets some just by mere factor of the fact
that's his voice.
It's James Wood.
I'm sorry though, Jay. I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing. It's like I love the personality behind him. I love he's kind of like, I don't know. He strikes me a little bit as with Ursula. He has kind of that grandiose personality.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just something about his look, the little poof of the flame on his hair.
His pilot light.
Yeah, his little pilot light that gets blown out all the time, and he freaks out when it does. I love him. I don't know why, but I love him.
Yeah, when he gets angry, he like literally explodes in fire.
Wait a minute though. Yzma's really cool too.
Yeah. See, I was gonna go with either Yzma or
shit.
Kronk maybe.
Yeah. Yzma's fantastic.
Well, Kronk's not a villain though. Kronk is.
Well, Kronk is
he ends up being a good guy.
He's a redeemed villain.
Yes, he's a redeemed villain. He's like the henchman.
Kronk is the worst henchman because he ends up being a good guy.
He is the worst henchman. Yes.
No, but I mean, how bad can he be if he can? He has animal speak. Like if you were playing D&D, he has animal speak.
Squeak, squeaking, squeaker.
And he can cook. He's real husband.
My cheese puffs.
Yes.
Does that make him a Disney princess since he can talk to animals?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, he does.
He
woodland
is the
creatures.
princess of that film.
All right, where do we leave off? That was
Tara just
pick,
did
right?
Hercules.
Nicely done. All right, love it.
And I'm curious, did any of you play Hercules? I forgot if you. Okay.
I had not. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, man.
I have not, but your description makes me want to try to pick it up. But you said PS3.
That one's on Steam.
Oh, there you go.
It was original PlayStation is what I played it on.
Yep.
But I think it came out on other systems at some point, maybe.
Maybe there was like a Sega Saturn version of it or something that came out. But it was definitely PlayStation first.
Well, let me just whip out my Sega Saturn then. And
yeah, just dust it off.
All right. Well, I think we're coming back to Jay. Jay, what do you got next on your list, bud?
Oh, all right. Since we just talked about the 2.0, I'll skip that one. So I'm gonna say Kingdom Hearts.
Okay,
so
let's get it out of the way.
It's what he doesn't pick the one I think he should pick, and then he picks like the one that's not. All right, okay. No, it's cool. It's cool. Go on. I've got so many on my list. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna go with the first one. I've played a little bit of the second one. I haven't played all the way through it, and I haven't played any of the third one. I haven't played any of the Game Boy ones or all the spin-offs, things like that.
That's the funniest story about the third one, that like people waited 15 years for that third one to come out, and they were so like jazzed, and almost everyone I know is like, yeah, I still haven't played that one yet. It's like, okay. It's been like out for 4 years now. I've
been a Final Fantasy, like, you're gonna have to quack this one out. I've been a Final Fantasy for pretty much since 1989, when Final Fantasy first came out. So
I can't believe you used the C word.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, if they're gonna have it on their podcast,
listen, Jay, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We call them ladies of the night, Jay.
Yes. But yeah, having the Final Fantasy characters and the Disney characters kind of merging those two realities together was just brilliant to me. And I remember Joe getting it because I wasn't going to get it originally.
We got it from Disney.
That's right.
Remember that when we had our website, that Lethal Death website that we were writing reviews for, and somehow I got a copy of it from Disney like 2 months before it came out.
Yep.
Wow.
And so we did this whole like feature on the website where we previewed like the first, like, man, we played for like 4 hours and just took screenshots and put them up on the website. And it was like being like you were saying, as Disney fans and as Final Fantasy fans, like this game exceeded expectations. And to be honest, the bar was low when we first started playing it.
Yes.
It was such a weird concept that everyone was like, this is the dumbest sounding game ever. And then I remember it being like, there were 2 games we played the out of at the frat house, and it was Tony Hawk Skater and Kingdom Hearts. And everybody running around, and it'd be like these, like typical frat guys be like, no, dude, you can't use Goofy there. You gotta bring in Summon Simba.
It's hilarious.
And like, meanwhile, like all our girlfriends are like in the corner, be like, "You guys want to go do something else? Yeah, sounds great." And they'd all be like, "Where'd they go?"
The fact that this game let you explore some of these Disney worlds, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but to be able to explore these worlds and how they kind of tried to link them together in their own way, it was really creative, and it worked. The thing was, somehow the craziness of Final Fantasy and the looniness of this Disney IP would just like somehow it worked together. But to get to like this fan servicey moment, so Final Fantasy VII, I think for any RPG gamer, any Final Fantasy gamer, for that moment in Final Fantasy VII when Aerith gets killed, and like,
I'm sorry.
And
That's
like,
okay, I'll never play them.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry, guys, I'll never play them.
But like in Kingdom Hearts,
it's only like 30 years old. Come on.
Yeah.
I know.
At the end of Kingdom Hearts, when there's that moment where Cloud and Aerith are face to face again, like I legit choked up and like teared up because of that. Like it was done in such a cool, classy way, and like somehow they made it so that Kingdom Hearts like fits still within the canon of these Final Fantasy games.
Yes.
It was well done.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's because they never tried to, like, they took everything seriously, like they were honest with it, because it's like Disney, so they weren't trying to make it grim or dark or anything, but at the same time they were like, this is what this character does and this is what this character does. They weren't like, isn't it silly that these characters are here? Now they did silly things because it's Goofy and Donald Duck,
Sure.
but at the same time it was also like they took care to put them in these situations and, like, you know, give a shit about them. Like, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy guy, and I was in it for the Disney stuff. So, like, the second one where you have like the 4 hour like
yeah.
when you're just running around not as Sora, and then at the end it's like, and you are Sora. It was like, what is this? Like, it was, so sometimes it gets to parts which are the things I hate about Final Fantasy games, but like I still had fun with it. Like, I you know.
Well, and I think going back to, like, being able to explore those worlds, like you were saying, me as a Disney fan, and I haven't played Final Fantasy, but the Halloween Town, I thought was really cool the way they did that one. And even Little Mermaid, like the grotto and, like, going in and doing that. And Tarzan's was fun too. Like, so for me, that's what's been fun about, like, going back and playing that, is it's expanding those worlds.
I always like when you would go and they would have to disguise Donald or Goofy.
Yes.
Oh, when they swim?
Well, that's because that's the thing. It's like, well, we're gonna make Sora will be a mermaid, Donald will have, like, tentacles, you know, like Ursula,
like an octopus,
like,
and Goofy's a turtle.
No, not even like half turtle. It's just Goofy's head on a turtle. It's the funniest thing.
And the thing is, you know, Ryan, you were talking about how, like, the second one where it gets kind of like convoluted and long and a little wacky. That's not so much. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that in Final Fantasy, but Kingdom Hearts has its own unique, special, like, convoluted aspect, because it gets too far away from itself. Even though the second one is a superior game, the story to it is just like, we've introduced all these things where it's like, well, you know, in the first one they were heartless. Well, now there's nobodies, and nobodies are like the heartless of the, you know, of this. So, like, everyone has a heartless, but then everyone who becomes a heartless also becomes a nobody, and it's so hard to keep track of this stuff. And
you're like, I just want to party with Jack Sparrow.
Exactly. I just want to get to the Tron level. Can I just do the Tron level?
I see Joel over here just being like, no.
Well, I've tuned out because I've tried playing this game before, and by playing I mean popping in the disc and waiting for a 40-minute cutscene before I actually have to do anything. So I don't like games like that.
Very Japanese RPG.
It is.
And, like,
it is.
Like, if you're not into that, it's like when I remember, I think when you started playing, I'm like, if you don't want to play this, I completely get it. Like,
I got through it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I got
The first two,
it's a ringing endorsement.
The first two are slow starters too. Like, they are slow builds. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the third one is the same way. And then, like, you add on top of that there's like 15 other like on GBA and on the PSP, and I got the, like, collection for PS4. And the thing is, like, most of the games are playable on it, but on one of them it's just like, watch all the cutscenes from this one, because we didn't want to put the game on here.
Now, did you just say you don't know if 3's like that? Have you not played 3?
I haven't played any of 3.
So you just sent me your 3? You're like,
I had an extra copy of it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just like, here you go.
Because I had a copy of it by itself, and then I bought the collection when it came out on PS4.
Okay.
So I had an extra one. So why not send it to my buddies?
No, I appreciate it.
That was good
look, if you don't appreciate, I know Tara appreciates it.
I did.
But, like,
I very much appreciate it.
She'll get to it sometime.
I'll get to it sometime when I'm not playing Skyrim.
There you go.
Skyrim again.
There you go.
Oh,
all right.
God.
I think that was Jay's pick, but we all kind of
Yeah, sorry, Jay. We all
Hey,
dove in on that one.
We piled on.
I am happy. I'm happy that my pick blossomed into that discussion.
Yeah.
Well, you're happy, and I am bashful about my next pick.
Yes.
Because I'm not. Sorry, that was just a horrible segue.
No.
We're here for it.
Never apologize for that.
But I'm going to commit to it and talk about. Now, this is kind of meta, because this is a video game based on a movie that is all about video games. And I'm talking about Wreck-It Ralph and the arcade cabinet for Fix-It Felix Jr.
Oh,
that they
yeah.
released.
Got it in my living room.
In tandem with that's right, you do, don't you?
Wait, do you have a full cabinet?
I have. Well, I not the Fix-It Felix. I have a cabinet that has it on there.
Okay.
It's called it's this Legends Ultimate
Yeah,
arcade
Legends
cabinet
Ultimate.
that has like a crap ton of games, and Fix It Felix Jr. is one of them.
That's awesome.
When I was working at the Eagle, they had brought the cabinet in when Wreck-It Ralph came out. They had brought the cabinet to a bunch of different radio stations in town, and so that thing lived in our break room for probably a month. And I held the top like 10 scores on the scoreboard. Every time I got a break, I would go play that thing, and like nobody else could touch it.
But yeah, no, it's a fun game, and it's right up my alley. And especially this podcast, we're called the 16-Bit Gladiators because we have a bit of a retro bent. Of course, we're all in our 40s, with our guests excluded, of course. But yeah, man,
Just barely.
Yeah, but I love that the style and the design of the cabinet like mimics those old arcade games from the 80s. Of course, it's Fix It Felix Jr. didn't exist in the real world, but in the world of Wreck-It Ralph, it's right up there with Pac-Man and Q*bert and all of the other classics. And they really went out of their way to not only style the game after that, but the hardware itself. So I appreciate it on its own package. If you ever kind of see it in the wild every year, at least until COVID, there's a video game expo that comes to Dallas, and they'll just kind of bring in arcade-ins. You can play a couple dozen arcade games, and Fix It Felix Jr. is always one that I will gravitate towards. I love that movie. I love those characters, and I love that game to boot.
It's kind of like they took the concept of Rampage and Donkey Kong and married those two games together.
That's an apt description, Jay. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, has there been a Wreck-It Ralph video game? I'm sure there has.
I think he's been in a bunch of stuff. Like
and
the big
maybe
thing Disney's...
is there Penelope Racing something?
Is there Candy Rush Racing? I wish.
Maybe I'm making it up, but I feel like there should
iOS.
be.
That would be the
iOS
perfect kart racer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of kart racers, real quick, there was one called Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour, where all of the characters were original characters except for Chip, Dale, and Jiminy Cricket. Because when you play a Disney game, you want to play as Chip, Dale, or Jiminy Cricket.
Indeed.
The stupidest
Wait,
thing
when did this come out?
Probably PS1 or PS2 era.
Oh, okay. So pre-Cars, before Cars came out.
Yes. There's a lot of Cars racing games, but this was like basically a kart racer, but the characters were people they just made up, and like the idea was like you can race around Space Mountain. It's like, no, I want to be somebody. I don't want to just be Jiminy Cricket who you had to unlock.
Oh, he was an unlockable character too.
Yes.
Oh, that's
ridiculous. Great. I have a question real quick, just to kind of like.
Sure.
This isn't specifically a Disney game, but has anyone here other than me been to? It's gone now, but they used to have a thing in Orlando called Disney Quest.
I've been there.
You've been to Disney Quest? You guys remember Disney Quest?
No, what's Disney Quest?
It was like this small. It was like Dave and Buster's, but they were all Disney themed. So it had all these Disney like big games. Like it
was
had
like
one
2 floors, right? It was like 2
a couple
levels. It
floors.
was a pretty big building.
You could do Aladdin's Magic Carpet VR ride. You could do this other game that was a Pirates of the Caribbean game where you're like 5 of you in the ship, and it's like all these screens all around you, and there's other people in other pods, and you have this is not gonna be good for radio, but it's gonna be even worse. Basically, you have a string on a cannon. You hold the cannon, and you go. You pull the string as much as you can.
Wow, that's ill-conceived.
And it shoots cannons at the other. You have someone is like steering the ship, and you're going around and shooting the other. Like Jolly Rogers, I think this was even potentially or Jolly Rogers or Black Pearls or whatever. I forgot what some of the other games were, but there was like a whole floor next to the best game, which was it was basically bumper cars, but it was Buzz Lightyear's bumper cars, but you had a cannon that shot dodgeballs.
Yes,
nice.
You would go around and scoop up these dodgeballs, and you fire them, and if you hit the other team, they would start
spin
spinning.
out. Yeah,
so like it was so much fun, but all on that floor was just all these really old video games. It's before Wreck-It Ralph. I'm sure if it had lasted for a while, Fix It Felix would have been there, but it was just, and they were free. Like some of the other stuff you had to like buy points and like spend it like Dave and Buster's, but these were all free all day long. And when I went, it was packed everywhere else, but those were empty. And it might have been because I was a little too old to be there, but it was definitely like I was on like the Defender. I was like, I've never played any of these super like these games that were like, you know, like it was just right in that era before I was like old enough to be in an arcade. Like my era of arcade is like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat 'em ups and stuff like that. So this was like Defender and like Asteroid and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm gonna check these out because they're free. You know, like it was just really cool.
But they don't have it anymore.
I think they're closed.
Well, I was at the one in Orlando, but I think there were multiple ones, right?
There was one in Chicago, or there was going to be one in Chicago when Chicago had that area that was like ESPN zone.
Yeah.
And like
I don't know
all
if it
those
ever
things.
opened or not in Chicago.
Weren't they gonna have like a WrestleMania restaurant there?
That's a horrible idea, by the way. A restaurant based on
Yeah,
WWE.
there's like WWE restaurant. Oh man. But it was like I think they were gonna have one there, and then they all just didn't work because like. No offense, when you go to Disney, like especially Disney Orlando, you plot out like I have 4 days I'm going to the park. You don't go, and then on the 5th day I'm going to go to an IP-based Dave and Buster.
Yeah. And they still had the last time I went, they still had the ESPN experience, but they were reworking that whole area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was there right after the Quest thing went away.
Oh, that sounds like right up my alley, though. I wish they still had that.
I think it would have done better in some place like Chicago than it would in Orlando, like someplace that's kind of reaching middle America. Like, hey,
if you
I want to go
get
to Disney World.
Disney
we
World.
got Disney World at home.
Mm-hmm.
Disney comes to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Nice. Well, that's give me something else on my bucket list to add. All right, where do we leave off? I think we did Joe. I think we're
okay.
You're up next, buddy.
All right, so I'm going to talk about a game that I know you said no Marvel, no Star Wars.
I did.
But I can't help it if the title of the game is Disney Infinity.
There you go.
Which I sunk kind of a small fortune into.
Oh, I bet.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Joe is panning his camera over.
Oh,
You got a little line up there.
That's just a few of them. I've got a whole box.
Well, hold on before you pull away. I see Groot.
Oh.
I see Wreck-It Ralph. Who do we got there?
Captain America back there.
Captain America with the shield.
Captain America, Wreck-It Ralph, Elsa. There's Elsa, Groot. This is a D23 exclusive Mickey Mouse.
The Fantasia Mickey.
And of course the Lone Ranger.
Is he a Disney property?
Hey, look, don't. I don't want. Yeah, that Lone Ranger movie was Disney.
I guess so.
Sorry.
I love the Lone Ranger. I wrote a melodrama based on the Lone Ranger. But this is from childhood. Like I've always been a Lone Ranger fan. I have a picture signed by the original Lone Ranger from the TV show when I got to meet him when I was a kid.
Wow.
So the Lone Ranger's always been kind of a fun thing for me. I like him a lot. And so I am an apologist for the film. But no, Disney Infinity, it's one of those, lose your wallet at the store buying these toys that you can then like scan into the game. And basically I did this whole thing, like bought all these different characters. There's still like a handful I don't have and probably never will. But like if you basically scanned all of the original run, like the first wave, and you unlock a lightsaber, like your character, whoever you are, could wield the lightsaber while you're running around these levels.
Mickey can have a lightsaber?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I like Elsa with a lightsaber.
Exactly.
Oh, that fits.
It's a fun deal. And honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to my daughter getting a little bit older so she can play a little bit of it with me. That's why I haven't gotten rid of these things yet.
No, hold on to them. Yeah, I was first exposed to this when I went to visit my niece and nephew a few years ago. And that was the game they were heavy into. And it wasn't until I saw it kind of in action that I got the appeal of it. And you're right. The business model behind that is just diabolical. Like you got to play the game.
Oh, for sure.
I don't understand why it didn't work better. I think it had something to do with the software more than like they just kept having to like update the game, and then it was like Disney Infinity 1, Disney Infinity. You had to like get a new game each time.
New version of
they
each time.
had released Disney Infinity 2, which was when after they had gotten the rights to like, because the first Disney Infinity had like Pirates of the Caribbean and Cars, and like I think Lone Ranger was part of the first run, but like everything was strictly Disney. It wasn't until 2 where they were able to add the Marvel and Star Wars characters.
But I don't understand why this and the model. I mean, I as someone in the industry, I feel like I should be the one to answer this question. But like Skylanders, like I don't think Skylanders does it anymore. There was Lego did it for a short bit. I bought into that because I was like, oh, I want to play Doctor Who.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, and then like there was a few of them that were like, it was crazy for a few years, and then
I think Disney hit on the back end. Disney and Lego hit on the back end because at that point Skylanders had been out for like a good 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
And I think once you've gotten a market that's gotten into the collecting, and even Nintendo still does it with the amiibos, but like,
yeah.
but at least they're not completely tied into just one game. But I think that there was just kind of a fatigue already in the market that had set in by the time Disney had hit the end of their cycle for the first game. It was just with the second one, people were already checking out.
Yeah. I love those the figurines on their own outside of the game. Like I like the art
They're
style
gorgeous.
where they try and kind of like make everyone kind of meet in the middle for an art style but it still seems to work. They're solid little figures. Like I think they'd be great to like set up on a desk if they weren't.
Yes.
Like if I could buy cheap versions where they've pulled out the like if I could
the
just
NFC chip thing.
like I don't need that. I just want them like I want to put Wreck-It Ralph up on a shelf somewhere.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I mean, you're not going to find a cheap version, but once Disney Infinity went away, some of the Imagineers designed a toy line that you could find at like the Disney store, and it's these figures with more articulation, but they're still designed the same way. I remember talking to a cast member at the store, and I was like, "These look just like the Disney Infinity figures." She's like, "You got a good eye. It's actually designed by the same people. It's meant to be like the figures from Disney Infinity, but with more articulation, so people can kind of actually play with them more than just be display pieces."
I like Joe's humble brag of being complimented by the Disney store.
Hey, did it impress
you? You have a good eye and a nice figure.
I was like, well, thank you very much.
Welcome to the podcast,
Dude.
pal. All right. No, yes, we couldn't do this episode without talking about that. The juggernaut that is Infinity. Yeah, big fan of that one. All right. I think we are back to our guests then. Tara, I think I'm going to hand it back to you first.
Yes, and I think, do you want to go through your list? Did you have just?
I think we only did 2. We figured we have some more.
There was one more I played on PlayStation, but I don't remember a lot about it. Was A Bug's Life. Did anybody ever play that one?
No.
I don't remember it being as good as Hercules, but it's essentially, again, you like follow the beats of the movie, and I think there was something with seeds where you could like plant and like things would grow and you'd climb on it. But that one I don't remember quite as much, but I did have it. But I know Ryan has this list that you...
Well, I had a couple other weird ones.
I was just curious if you want to mention some of your weird ones in here.
Does anybody remember Toontown Online?
No, I do not.
No.
It was like an MMO. So it was basically like with Roger Rabbit and then like Mickey and all of them, and you make a toon that was like a dog or a rabbit or like all these different animals and all these different colors and like a Hawaiian shirt of this.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I'm not, but I'm going to interrupt you anyway.
For it.
So no. You got the wheels turning in my head. There was a Roger Rabbit NES game.
Yes, there was.
Was that Disney?
God,
was that a
completely
Disney game?
Forgot about that. Yeah, we'll count it.
I mean,
Roger Rabbit's in there. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that was a Disney-made game or if that was another company.
Let's check that out.
I mean, they had to license it out. But
I remember that game, Joe. Did any of the other
I don't
Disney
know if any of the actual... I don't know if the Disney or Warner Brothers characters showed up in it. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
NES. It was
I think it was just the
Kemco
Weasel.
developed it.
Oh, okay.
It was just the weasels, and you were like this
Yeah.
vaguely not Bob Hoskins looking guy.
Yes.
And you're driving around town and you had to like find clues. Like I played the heck out of that game. I think I got to the end and never beat it because at the end you had to like climb up this thing and like shoot Judge Doom on a thing. I'm like, this is all like vaguely coming back to
That's
me.
nuts. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail you. I was wondering if that was a Disney game.
Listen,
when you said that, I had the same
interesting.
thought too. I'm looking at pictures of it now. Yeah, Bob Hoskins looks like Leisure Suit Larry in this version.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking
not the
at it
best
as well. Yeah.
likeness, but I do remember the game. But yeah, I can only imagine what like a licensing nightmare that would have been.
That would
to
be
get
that'd be crazy.
any
Yeah.
other characters.
the reason I bring up this Toontown Online game is because, again, I vaguely remember when it came out and, like, I think it was a free-to-play game. It launched in 2001, and it went all the way to 2013.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow.
Like, and that's a pretty long shelf life for an MMO.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it on a specific
It was
system, or
it was
for
PC, yeah.
PC?
So it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
World of Warcraft or
Got
that
it,
stuff
got
where
it.
it's. But like, I watched some videos from it today, and it was like you're fighting against like these like weird corporate guys who are like that's the opposite of cartoons and fun.
Oh
is
my
like
God.
yeah, and it's like all these. That was one that I was shocked at. One I want to talk about real quick. If anybody has this one, although I doubt it. Just cut me off and we'll talk about it. But just one I never really played but looms large in my head was the Pirates of the Caribbean game that was produced by Bethesda.
Oh, really?
Because
No.
when I,
Oh,
Is that the At World's End one?
I think it wasn't the first one, or it might have been Curse of the Black Pearl. Whatever it was,
God.
I was just, when I came in, the poster was featured heavily in the Bethesda cafeteria for some reason, and I just was like, I remember sitting down with people, I'm like, did any of you guys work on this? And they're like, no, there's the Bethesda production group, which is like they produce games, but the game studio doesn't actually make them. And they're like explaining the whole thing to me, but it was just, that's all I have to say about it. Is just every day I sat down for lunch and got to stare at Johnny Depp staring down at me and be like, "Hey there!" Like, it was just
you lucky devil, you.
That it was just like when you work at a game company, there's like this thing where they just grab as much merch and they put it in like in Bethesda, it was the cafeteria or the front room,
the
and
front
stuff like
walkway as
and
you
eventually,
walk inside. Yeah.
No, I was just about to say that's how Gearbox is too. Gearbox has that stuff all in their cafeteria.
Exactly, and it's all like, look at all this cool stuff, and like we had stuff like that at Bethesda. Eventually, I think they had better properties by the time I left, and cooler stuff than just like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, and eventually too, they do concept art and stuff because you had to sign an NDA to even step foot in the building. So then they'd showcase concept art, which was fun if you were in there.
I will say this has nothing
visiting.
to do with Disney, and we'll move on after this, but we had a bunch of like big statues and stuff for games to do. Like we had the big Panzer dog thing from Wolfenstein and like a Vault Boy. One time we had a moving Mr. Handy.
Yeah, Mr. Handy.
It's like
that
things
one
they
was
built
fun.
for E3 and they brought in. So he would just stand there.
That's
and like
awesome.
we had to turn off. It was funny because it was like
It was
he would sit there
when
go,
you walk
"Hello,
by."
sir," like he would talk to me. Like, "Yeah, turn that off."
Halloween.
And then it was like the woman who sat there. It was like whir. It was like imagine sitting on like the like carousel of progress, like all the clicking and whirring. Like she was just like it's so loud.
This is
But
horrible.
we had this one thing that was from The
gosh.
Evil Within, and it was if
awful.
any of you guys have played The Evil Within,
Yes.
there's a dude who's like a butcher.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a safe, like a
barbed wire.
with barbed wire around it for a head. And the thing about everything else there is they all look fake, but the dude with the safe with the barbed wire for a head looked like it could have just like you could have easily swapped me out with it, and then just like I could have been like blah, you know. So I would be there late at night, like crunching, and I'm like walking by it. And then, like, I swear to God, the guy must have thought I was, like, stealing something, like, running to my car. Because I would just be like, I'm like, any minute's going to move, any minute's going to move. And I just, like get out.
That and the same with when they had the screens.
They
And
had
they
a
would
video.
show gameplay, and they would show that game.
Trailers.
And,
there's
like,
just,
late at night, you'd be like, I had to call you because I just saw this trailer, and now I'm in the dark. And
I
need
come
to
off
talk.
the elevator. I come off the elevator, and the elevator door would open to be this woman with, like, 20 arms, like, crawling out of, like, a vat of blood. And I'm like, cool. I now have to go through a dark parking lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
That's so funny to me that like one of the game designers is still like scared of the stuff that's in the game. Like someone who should know, who's seen behind the curtain, is still scared of
that's
the
exactly
stuff.
When
why.
we would do big company things and we would show that game, I would go, I have to leave, and I would get up and I would walk out.
Or you'd look down, like when it would be the Christmas party where they'd like showcase that
Yeah, I'd
everything
look down
that
my lap
came
and I'd
out.
go,
He
no.
just like wouldn't look up at the screen.
No. I have a very vivid imagination, so scary stuff, like especially jump scares, like get to me really easily.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So Ryan brings up Pirates of the Caribbean. I've never played that game, but I did play the Lego one.
Yes, that's on my list as well.
That's all.
There you go.
I-
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
go.
that's it. Well, I mean, I feel like every other episode on this podcast, we talk about a Lego game. We certainly did it last week with Marvel. We did it with Star Wars. Yeah, when you played one Lego game, you pretty much played them all. But yeah, I remember having some fun with that one.
It wasn't bad. It was definitely a middle of the road as far
Yeah.
as the Lego titles go.
Agreed.
Did anybody play the Incredibles one?
No.
Ooh, have not.
There's a Lego
Yeah.
Incredibles?
Yeah.
It's pretty new.
And okay, I gotta check that out.
All
I
right.
feel like this is how it's going to be. Is like, you guys play this one? No.
Nope.
Like, I feel like that's what we're getting with some of these at this point in the Disney stuff. Is it's
Yeah.
like a lot of like, oh, it's fun. Okay, great.
Well,
It's too groundbreaking at this point.
no, I think we've all done a couple of rounds. That the one that you just mentioned, Joe, was the last one on my list. So I think we'll go one more time around the horn for those who still have games that they want to talk about, and then we'll throw in some honorable mentions, and we'll wrap this up. Jay, I think. Wait, let's see. I did Tara. Well, you guys kind of did a combo, right?
Yeah,
You
we
and
were,
Ryan?
we were a
Yeah.
team there
You're
at
your
the
team. So and Joe kind of tacked on there, right? But you've got more. So I will go to Jay. Jay, what's the last game on your list?
Well, I guess the last game, I skipped the last round, but it was Tron, basically. And I know we had talked about it before on an earlier episode, but
games based on movies.
Yes. And I had played it in the arcade, and I really only remembered the light cycle portion of the arcade version. And then I remember Joe getting it on Xbox Live Arcade, and we played through it, and there was all these other levels, and it kind of blew my mind that there was several different versions, or not versions, but several different games within it, like little mini games and stuff.
The tanks, tanks, the cone, the spiders.
So yeah, that's it. That's my last one right there.
There you go. Okay. Did I skip you earlier,
That's a good
Jay?
one, man.
No.
Okay.
I had just I had skipped the because we had just talked about Tron 2.0, so I was like, I'll skip that one. And
that's
I'll
right.
Go on to,
Too much Tron in our Disney episode.
Tron was great. No, there's no such thing as too much Tron. Tron was great. That original arcade game, it was so good because they weren't really like with it. They weren't trying to tie it into the movie. They were just making some solid arcade style games. Yeah.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, Joe, I will kick it back over to you then.
Okay. What I'm going to, it's not really a game that you could play on PC or a game that you could play on console. And I know I've talked with, I think everybody on the podcast I've talked to in some way, shape, or form about this, but there used to be a game at the Magic Kingdom that when you walked in, you go to the firehouse and they're like, wizards wanted, looking for heroes. And you would go to the firehouse and they would give you a pack of cards to play a game called Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
Oh.
I've got my
Oh my
visual
god,
aid.
you've got them all packed.
Wow.
I got them.
I'm so
Joe,
jealous.
somebody
It's no longer
I know from the
available.
podcast sent me their deck. So I
Oh,
have,
really?
if you
Oh,
ever want
my
to play
God.
on Zoom.
We can play, dude. Look, they've got like the home version. There's like a home version.
What? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, and it doesn't exist in the park anymore, right?
Yeah, they took it out. They took it out just
Yeah.
a couple of months ago, which is so heartbreaking.
Sucks
Yeah.
because I'm going in like 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
Oh,
That's
oh,
right.
bummer.
really?
Yes.
Let me tell you about like how cool it was to walk up. I don't know if anybody else has played this, but you would go in and they're like, okay, now look for the crest, look for the sorcerer crest on the ground, and you'll find a keyhole nearby. Show this card to your keyhole. I think before they closed it, they started tying it into your magic band. But for this thing, it was like put your card up against the keyhole that acknowledges like who you are, and then the adventure will start. So like you're walking up and there's that when you first go into Disney World, like just the Magic Kingdom, there's all these little storefronts, the shops, the main alleyway or the main street rather. And so right there's like this first store and there's a window. You're looking in, seeing people shop, but there's a crest and there's a keyhole and you put the thing up and then suddenly like magic, like digital magic, like this like window suddenly
Disney magic.
turns into wizard, like Merlin the wizard pops up and he's like, hello, adventurer. So I hear you're going to help us fight the forces of evil trying to take over the park. And like he sends you on like what's basically a glorified scavenger hunt.
Oh, I love those.
I'm
across
so
the
into
park.
that.
Me
It
too.
was so awesome. Like meanwhile, my sister and her boyfriend are walking around the park, going on all the rides, doing all the things, and they're catching back up with me like every hour or so. And they're like, hey, we're going to go do this. Do you want to come? I'm like, I'm good. And I'm just like scavenger hunting all over the park. I'm like, look, we got another day of this. And I know what I want to do and when I want to do it. But right now, I want to do this thing. I stayed in the park for hours, like I think 6-7 hours. I played this game and finally like finished all 3 levels. And just had such a great time and like learning if you hold up more than one card, you could do combinations of spells with your characters.
Ooh.
And there was that cool endorphin hit that you would get that like when someone would be walking down, like not knowing what you were doing, just some random people in the park enjoying themselves. And then you come walk up and you hold up your key card and like this wanted poster in, Frontierland, this wanted poster suddenly turns into Merlin talking to you and just in the corner of your eye, catching people's reactions going, whoa, what the hell is that? Like,
And then telling them you got to go all the way back to Main Street.
Well, what's fun is that there was a point in Frontierland too where you could like check in there too. As if that matters. You know what, Ryan? You made a funny joke, and I completely.
Listen, I have been on the other side of this exchange so many times.
I went total autism on you.
I love that idea too, because for people who frequent the parks, right, and know the parks so well, it adds like a whole new element. And then also for those who don't go to the parks often, it, like you said, the Disney magic of it all. There's something really cool about that. I'm bummed. Do you know why did they give a reason for why they stopped doing it?
You know what? I still haven't seen what the reason was. I don't think it was a participation issue because
Bob
man,
Chapek.
I know, right? I'm a part of like 2 or 3 different Facebook groups that were dedicated just to this game. And like the activity was through the roof. Like people were constantly like, "Hey, I'm at the Magic Kingdom today and I'm hiding cards in Tortuga." Like people would just be hiding cards for other people to find. And I'm like,
that's
awesome.
really
That
cool.
is cool.
Yeah.
Those season pass users.
I would guess it's probably because of COVID, and when they had to kind of shut down things or severely limit any kind of access into the park. I would bet that's why they did it. And I would hope, now that things are starting to open back up like that they're going to bring it back.
They'll open the Disney vault.
They ripped up. People have taken pictures. They've ripped up all of the crests that are on the ground. There's like 1 or 2 places where you'll still see like keyholes, but no crests near them anymore. So I think they're just taking it out because they're developing something new with the same technology, but just something new.
Yeah.
Well, look forward to that.
Now
Sounds
it's gonna
really
be
cool.
the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know, right?
Yeah, there you go. They're gonna Marvelize it. Well, that sounds really fun, Joe. But I don't think that qualifies as a video game. So I'm sorry, you're disqualified. We're gonna have to cut this part out of the podcast.
That's fair. That's fair. I take that.
Hope you learned your lesson.
I'm going to stretch that though, because it's holograms. And holograms are video,
There's
and
a
it is
video
a
component
game.
to it. Yeah.
Well, this is
Hey, man,
it's a
if I had
video
a
game.
big book of those cards, I would use every opportunity to like pull them out and be like, "Oh,
And
look
talk
at
about 'em.
these.
All right.
Check out my
Look at
spell
this
card.
card. Isn't it neat?"
Would you think my collection?
And it is.
There's
It
actually
is
like a
complete.
home version of the
I got
game
him.
too.
What'd you say, Jay?
I said there's actually like a home version of the game because
there's a
I
home
kind of need
version.
to see how I can get that now.
Yeah, well,
It's like
there's
Magic. It looks like Magic the Gathering.
It does,
kind of
yeah.
what
Visuals I saw
the
on
home
there.
version you could only buy at like the stores, and they might still have them when
I
you
will
go.
look when I
Yeah.
get there. Yes, I will definitely look.
All
And I
right.
will probably buy all the cards.
Well, you can't. The thing is, you only get starter packs. The only way you can actually get all of the cards, because I mean, there's
eBay.
you can
the
buy
boosters.
you can eBay it, but you could buy when you buy the home version, you get a bunch of cards, and some of them are random. But the best way is like to keep going to the firehouse like every day. You only get 1 pack a day, but you go to the firehouse and they would give you a pack on special occasions like Christmas or Halloween. They would have a special card they would make for that holiday. And so that's kind of how you got new ones. But the way you did it was like when you saw other people playing, you'd walk up and be like, "Hey, do you want to trade?" Like they were really trying to encourage
Yeah.
the social aspect of the park and like trading, which it's cool. But at the same time, when like an 8-year-old kid approaches me, who was like at the time when I went, I was like 37, and like
37.
this kid in a row, and this kid approaches me and he's like, "Hey, you want to trade?" And like his parents are there, but it's still kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, look, I don't want to rip this kid off. He's,
Right.
he's an 8-year-old kid. So he's like, "You want to trade?" And I know in my head he's showing me like some like common Donald Duck card, and I'm like, "Oh man," and I just go, "Okay, yeah, well, what do you want for it?" And he's trying to get my rare holiday 2018 like Tiana, and I'm like, "No, you can't." But I'm like, "Okay, go ahead, take it." So
Enjoying this mental image of like Joe in an argument
I know.
with a kid. Like this
And
kid's got like a
thinking it through.
churro in his hand.
And you know the
crying,
kid-
and you're like, "What are you thinking,
and I'm
dummy?"
like, "Give me the churro too."
Your cards suck.
the
I'm
kid
taking
is
this.
sitting
You
there
don't
like,
deserve it.
I'm all innocent. I'm going to play like I don't know what I'm doing.
And you walk by their parents, you're like, "Your kid's an idiot."
Parents sent him over like,
Hey,
just play dumb.
So that brings up something. So because there's an Aerosmith ride at Hollywood Studios
No.
at the Disney park, does Aerosmith Revolution X count as a Disney game?
No, it does not. And you can tell we're near the end of the episode when we start talking about not video games that do have to do with Disney. So I think it's time to start wrapping things up. But before we go, any honorable mentions, games we want to rapid fire throw out there? I'll get the ball started because a few of those Disney afternoon games that got left off our list, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which I love because it was co-op, little 2-player simultaneous, Darkwing Duck, and The Little Mermaid was actually a really fun Capcom NES
Little
game.
Mermaid was a good one. It
All
was
right.
a really good one.
I'm going to throw it over to Tara and Ryan. What do you have on your honorable mentions list?
Do you have anything on your list?
I just want to talk about another stupid game. This one was called Mickey Speedway USA, in which you could unlock Louie and Dewey, but not Huey.
What?
Anyway,
Wow.
I will say the Little Mermaid one, I feel like I watched someone play it. I don't know that I ever played it. I can't remember where I was.
Swim around,
but
you
yeah,
pick up
I remember
shells.
it looking like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. All right.
I feel like we've exhausted all the ones I've played. Mickey Mousecapades was the one that I remember the most that I didn't want to, because I remember being into it, but also I remember being stupid. So like I went back and watched a video about it, and it was like, here's all the things that were cool about Ducktales, and we're just gonna do a very bad version of it. Like the whole like, let's have Minnie kind of follow you around like for no reason. I can remember. I was watching a video, and it was like the bad guys were like a snake and like no other IP, like a pirate. It was so ridiculous.
All right, Jay, any honorable mentions for you?
I guess I could go, and I guess these are technically, we said we couldn't do these because these are LucasArts. I think they're Maniac Mansion and Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah.
Back from the
Oh
Indians.
my god! I like that Joel like throwing down the red
Just
card on you.
shut it down.
Yeah, no.
Just shut it down.
Nope.
Shut it all down.
You don't get to talk about that.
No, I mean, you're right. Technically, they are now, but we'll do our own LucasArts episode on an upcoming podcast here.
I mean, we've talked about Kingdom Hearts, but just recently they released a rhythm game on the Switch, which is kind of nice because if you know anything about Kingdom Hearts, you know that the music is just awesome. So this game is like the Rocky IV of Kingdom Hearts games, where it's just like very little on the story, but a lot of. Dude, let me tell you, man, Tara and I are going to have to do a whole podcast just about Rocky IV.
Oh my gosh, I am here for it.
It is.
I am here for it.
It's the greatest, worst movie in the world. Like
amazing.
it's so bad, but
Rocky
it's
movie I
spectacularly
Yeah,
done.
I showed that one to Ryan.
I had never
no.
seen a Rocky movie. She's like, we have to watch 4, and I'm like, I feel like I should have been led to this.
There's like
But it's fine.
there's
It's fine.
seriously
We watched the rest of them. He
there
caught
is a
up.
point halfway through Rocky IV where you could just feel Sylvester Stallone just getting bored with editing the movie, and he was just like, just make it a music video for like
yeah. Let's do another montage.
just do another montage. They like that. It's like MTV.
Isn't that the one with the robot? Isn't there a robot in there?
Yes,
like a
dude,
robot
it
butler.
is, and that's
the
what I'm
robot.
talking about. Rocky IV is the greatest 80s movie ever made because it seriously combines everything you love about 80s stuff and puts it in one movie about a boxer from Philadelphia.
And the villain is Russia.
The villain is
Oh
Russia,
my
all
God,
of Russia,
yes.
not
we
just
all
the
learned
Russian,
that
all of
Russia
Russia.
is the friend at the end. Because
But they can
maybe
change.
If we can get along.
If we could
change.
change,
But
you could change. We
real
all
quick,
can change.
Real quick, Polly's that robot, correct?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like she talks to him
Everywhere.
like
Everywhere.
an old. Like 100%. That is a sexual relationship.
That's the cut of the movie that I want to see though. Like while the kids are watching Rocky fight, you know, like there's the robot is like
Polly, get
cheating
in
on
here.
Polly.
No.
Well, no,
She's seducing
Polly's
him.
in
Toaster.
Russia. Polly's in Russia, so she's
Right.
cheating on him. No, but Kingdom Hearts, I think I can't remember. It's like Merry Melodies or something of melody. Kingdom Hearts started getting like the Castlevania franchise where everything was like this weird musical like subtitle. But like it's a really decent rhythm game that kind of gives you the complete story of what's going on with Kingdom Hearts from 1 all the way through 3. Again, great music, like, and that's the key. If you're going to have a rhythm game, you've got to have some great music to listen to, and it's got some fun mechanics to it. So yeah, I mean, we talked about Kingdom Hearts. This is Kingdom Hearts, but it's a different kind.
Melody of Memory.
Melody of Memories.
I need to check that out because I love the theater rhythm games, and I know that it's a little different because it's more of a runner style, I guess you said it was.
Yeah.
Than the theater rhythm, but I do remember loving the music in Kingdom Hearts as well.
Sure.
So absolutely.
All right. Anything else on your honorable mentions, Joe? No?
No.
All right. Well, thankfully, we've come to the end of our Disney episode. No, this was fantastic. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. And Ryan and Tara, thank you for suggesting it. Uh-oh. No, too late.
I just remembered.
Is this another non-video game, Joe?
No, this is for real. This is the first Disney game I ever played. Fantasia on the Atari 2600. I can't believe I forgot about that.
Ooh.
But
How
the
did that
whole
game go?
thing It was like you were Mickey, and the whole thing was about like those brooms coming to life, and you had to stop the brooms from flooding the level.
Oh, I like that. That kind of lends itself to a nice simple video game. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Even though it was on the Atari 2600. All right, well, we've done it. We spanned the ages then, all the way back to Atari to the latest and greatest, Kingdom Hearts 3, that none of us have played. So that was our Disney episode where we explored Disney video games with our special guests once again, Tara and Ryan from Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries. Love that podcast. If you love Disney movies, you love listening to them chat. It's a great show and much cleaner than ours. And
it's really good. Yeah, very family friendly.
Yes.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks. We appreciate it.
All right. Before I start wrapping up, I want to leave it to you guys. Anything else you want to plug besides your podcast?
I'll plug my book since that's coming up on an anniversary, and that's very different than anything that you guys probably talk about. I'm a music therapist by trade, and I work with older adults, primarily dementia and Alzheimer's, and I have a book that you can find on Amazon that I co-wrote with 2 other music therapists, Music, Memory, and Meaning. And it's about how you as a caregiver or someone, if you're a loved one of someone who is living with dementia, how you can use music meaningfully with them. So, not all of us are music therapists.
That is awesome.
So it's a way, we talk about what music therapy is, talk about, kind of tips on what to do and how you find out preferences if somebody is no longer able to express their preferences. So, we go into that. And then the second part of the book is a bunch of playlists. So it's like, these are the top hits of the 50s that we have found as therapists are very successful.
That's
so
awesome.
We do that by genre.
That is, yeah.
And then the third part of the book is specific, like, listen to Love Me Tender and here's what you can do. Like, put on the song, you can dance to it. We give different prompts and then give some discussion prompts. So starting with yes or no questions, and then if your loved one is able to communicate more than yes or no, then you can expand from there. So we've got like 100 of those. So all of those songs are from the lists in part 2. So
oh my god,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We finally have someone on this podcast that does actual important work.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, we're
books.
coming up on it's the 4th year, so it's the 4th anniversary of the book. We're coming up on it in a couple weeks, so I'm doing kind of some social media for it, but we've got a Facebook page. I just started an Instagram, so we're kind of putting it out there into the world again. So I'll take any opportunity to chat about it.
Awesome. And you can find it on Amazon, I assume.
Yes, Amazon Music, Memory, and Meaning, and it'll pop right up.
Beautiful. Awesome. Ryan, what are you doing with your life?
I mean, speaking of meaneful work, I have a
programming
Frasier
hentai
podcast.
video games. And
I also have a Frasier podcast that my co-host Laurel would be upset if I didn't plug. It's Craniacs, Craneacs. Check us out. We're inching ever closer to our 100th episode. So if Disney stuff isn't your bag, check out. I don't know why those are the only 2 options for things you might enjoy, either Frasier or Disney.
hey, does it cross over? Is there ever a crossover? Does Kelsey Grammer do a voice in a Disney film?
He was in. There was one we did for our Halloween episode that was called The Runaway Brain.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was. It's if you should check it out. It's on YouTube.
It's a short,
very
it's
weird
not
short thing about.
very long.
Actually, it starts off and.
He did Toy Story 2.
Oh, he did Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
So there's that. But he's a doctor who switches Mickey's brain with Pete's, and at the beginning, Mickey is playing a fighting game where you're either Dopey or the evil queen.
Oh my god!
When Minnie comes in and like berates him for not like
he forgets their anniversary or something, and so he like it's like this whole thing. It's short, but it's worth a watch. It's weird and fun.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
But Kelsey Grammer's in that.
Hey, let me put you on the spot. Who do you like podcasting with more, Laurel or your wife?
The person I'm married to. Like, not even a competition. There's a good chance I don't see Laurel every day.
I mean, you chose me, one could say.
That is true.
I guess you chose to podcast with Laurel.
Trick
too.
question, because the answer is us.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
That's right. Once again, yes, Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries. Find them on, where are you guys? On Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts.
We're all over the place.
Spotify.
If you look for us, If you look for
Yeah,
us
we're
and
on
can't
Spotify.
find us, let me know. Get at me.
Yeah.
trprincessdiaries@gmail.com.
Hey,
Let
do you
us
guys
know
still
you
have
can
the
find
phone line that you have people calling up?
We
Yes,
do, yes.
707 yo TRPD1. Again, that's 707 yo Tara and Ryan Princess Diaries 1. It's a very easy to remember. There's no problems at all. It's clean. It comes
Except
off
when
very
somebody
quickly.
calls and asks
my
for
God.
camera tripods.
Did you listen to that episode, Joe? The guy's like,
Oh my God.
I'm looking for tripods. I'm
called
looking
up.
for no princesses.
I called up. I was like, "Is this a tripod? 1-800 tripod? Is this it?"
Yes.
If you guys want to hear it after the podcast, I'll play it for you.
It's wild.
Please. Joe, you have anything to plug while we're doing plugs?
Oh, I don't have a plug, but I guess check out the Nerd Roundtable or the Geek Roundtable podcast. I've done a bunch of episodes with them. I just recorded another 2 that are going to be coming out in the next couple of months, where we talk about the movie Krull and also Willow, in which I direct everyone to our episode of the Editing Bay, where we talked about Willow. But yeah, I've been on a few episodes where we talk about Ahsoka Tano, we talk about Grogu, we've talked about our favorite superheroes, our favorite aliens. Like it's a real fun deal. A great roundtable discussion with these guys. It's no Joel and Jay, but they treat me real nice.
Unlike here, that's right.
Yes.
No, listen, they feel your pain, because like every time we get ready to record, the host Kenny is like, "All right, so this is just supposed to be like a 30-minute episode, Joe."
Yeah. As we come on hour 2 of our Disney podcast extravaganza. But yeah, well worth it. If you like this podcast, you can subscribe and listen to this one too. 16bitgladiators.com is our website, and there you're going to find links to our social networks on Facebook and on Twitter at 16bitgladiators. All right. Well, I see that Google Meets is giving us the 5-minute warning, so we're going to talk about what's going to be our topic next week on the podcast. I don't know about you guys, but I've been watching a lot of Summer Olympics. Can't get enough. I find myself watching sports that I don't care about outside of the 2-week Olympics span of time, but that got me thinking, hey, I think it's about time we talk about sports games on this podcast, because there's plenty of them out there, and I think once you start doing a little digging, you'll realizing that the term sports is kind of wide open. So curious to see what you guys come up with next week when we're talking about sports video games. All right, Joe, thanks again for lending your talents. It was amazing. Jay,
See you real soon.
Jay, always a pleasure having you on.
Thanks, sir. Glad
And
to be back again.
Once again, special thanks to Tara and Ryan for suggesting the topic and also contributing their time and talents.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much.
100.
We'll have to find another excuse to get you guys on. Maybe if there's a Fraser Crane video game, we can do a crossover episode with that.
God, I hope there's not a video game.
All right, listeners, if you've got your favorite Disney video game, feel free to sound off on our Facebook page or on Twitter. Again, 16bitgladiators.com. And tune in next week for our special sports video games episode. All right, we will see you next week on another episode of the 16-Bit Gladiators. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
If you want to tell us your favorite Disney villain and why it's guest on, send us an email at trprincessdiaries@gmail.com.
Or you can send a tweet about how great Maleficent is to @TRPDiaries.
Check out our Facebook group by searching for Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, and many more.
Wherever you hear us, please be our knight in shining armor and give us a 5-star review.
Thanks again, and until next time, remember to always live happily ever after.